Apple just brought out 3 new Macs. It's always bringing out new Macs, and yeah, okay, these ones are 3 times faster at this, 5 times at that, 9 times faster at something else. You're a writer. It's not as if these new machines are going to speed up your typing, is it? Actually, yes. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which is about how writers like you and me can get more from our Macs, from our iPhones and our iPads. Do subscribe. There is so much to talk about, especially at the moment. And when we're done talking about writing, I've also got a mailing list about actually getting down to writing. So check that out in the notes below. Now, here's the thing about these new Macs. Apple has brought out a new MacBook Air, you know, the really thin laptop that slips out of envelopes, the Mac Mini, which is what I use, and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is the really thin laptop, but presumably not quite as thin. Each of them uses the newly announced Apple Silicon M1 processor, and usually I do not care about specifications, and I'm never going to get out a stopwatch, but these 3 and this processor appear to be ludicrously fast, much faster than the old versions of these machines. And this is key. You're going to notice this difference. Everything you do on these machines will be noticeably faster if you've used a previous Mac. And if you haven't used a Mac before, well, it's just going to seem wicked fast. Everything will. Let me concoct as close as I can to an example. Here's me opening Pages on my 2018 Mac Mini. And here's me opening Pages on my iPhone. That's about the kind of snappy performance we're going to get on the new Macs. It is a visible difference, but I think it's more than that. I want to open Pages, bam. Microsoft Word, it's opened. Check an email, done. All the tedious waiting for an app to open, all the relaxing. Go on. There's a joke, isn't there, about Windows PCs are better than Macs because every day they crash. And that gives you 10 to 20 minutes to stretch your legs, look out of the window, talk to colleagues. It's all over. So these 3 Apple Silicon Macs, yeah, they seem pretty amazing, really. If you're in the market for a new Mac Mini, a new MacBook Air, or a new 13-inch MacBook Pro, your decision is now extremely easy. Could barely be any easier, really. And I do say that because these ones are so much better, but this is how the old ones, well, you can still get them for a while, but they're going away. And the prices of the new machines are the same as the old. Not true. The Mac Mini, the new Mac Mini, starts at £100 or $100 less than the old one. But none of them are more expensive, at least not when you first buy them. That Mac Mini, actually, in the end, that may work out more costly because it's now the same as the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, and I suppose iPhones and iPads, really, in that you can't get more RAM into it later. The working memory, the space it uses, that it runs your apps in, that's fixed at the time you buy. And Apple kills you on the price of RAM compared to anyone else. So where you used to be able to buy the Mac Mini with the least possible RAM from Apple and then chuck in some more from one of the many other suppliers, now you can't. And this also happens with me. You're a few years into using the Mac Mini and it's starting to creak. You can improve things radically by then adding in more RAM from another supplier, and now you can't. That's the sole bad thing I can think about these new Macs. But there is also the fact that choosing between them is now oddly hard. Well, I say choosing is hard. The Mac Mini is a desktop Mac. I have actually carried mine around to hotels. That was fine. The monitor was tough. But really, it stays on your desk. That's the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro. That's the issue. If you're going to be writing at your desk, all the time, the Mac Mini makes the most sense, economically. It's the cheapest, it's powerful. Yeah, if you're going to be traveling, and one day we will, then on paper, right now, I am struggling to see the difference between the MacBook Air and the new MacBook Pro, except for their basic shape, and that there's £300 or $300 price difference. The Apple Silicon MacBook Air starts at $999, the MacBook Pro at $1299. That MacBook Pro, it does get 2 more hours of battery life per charge, but apparently that means 20 hours instead of 18. And I know we're writers, but even we have to stop writing sometime. And I offer that sometime should be a bit less than 18 hours per day. It's also got the touch bar, which seems to divide people. And I don't know what I think, because I've never even used one yet. Oh, the MacBook Pro, it also has a slightly brighter screen, which I like, but I bet you wouldn't notice unless you had the two machines side by side. Or out in direct sunlight, actually, that could make a difference. And the MacBook Pro, it also has reportedly better speakers, better microphones. Previously, though, the reason I was looking at buying a 13-inch MacBook Pro instead of a MacBook Air, well, I suppose it was the shape, really, and I don't mean for aesthetic reasons. That thinner, wedge-shaped MacBook Air, the shape of it made a difference. The machine would get hotter sooner, and while, there are other reasons why apps would run slower, the heat would stop something like the video editor, Final Cut Pro 10, being quick enough for what I need. The bigger MacBook Pro casing meant that could run faster and it could run for longer before there were heat issues. And that has to be a factor again, it has to. But Apple keeps banging on really about how ridiculously low power all of this, power is. So right now, I don't know how to choose between a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro. Really glad I could help you out there. One more thing that I don't know. Apple says that new Apple Silicon Macs can run iOS apps. You can directly run iPhone and iPad apps right there on your Mac. And they showed a couple of running, but I can't see how you get them, how they work. And on the iPhone and the iPad, you tap and you swipe, don't you? On the Mac, you click and drag. I don't know how well an iOS app will work on the Mac. Plus, I look at my iPhone, which is just replete with apps that I use extremely often, and I'm not sure which of those I'd use on the Mac, or rather, which I'd use on the Mac and haven't already got Mac versions of. I mean, look at this, Fantastical, my calendar, OmniFocus, my beloved To-Do app, Omni Outliner, Drafts, 1Password, Reader, Slack, News, Duolingo. Maybe because they are apps I use, or actually maybe because they're apps that enough other people use enough. They have Mac versions already, and I already have those Mac versions. Love those Mac versions. We'll see what happens. Actually, maybe that's the summary of everything. Even now, after the first Apple Silicon Macs are actually here, maybe that is the summary. Wait and see what happens. Unless you're in the market for a new Mac right now, in which case, go get one of these and have a very good time. That's it, 58 keys this time. If you're watching this around the time it first comes out, kind of early-ish November 2020, early to mid, then the seemingly much delayed macOS Big Sur is coming out very shortly, and I have a lot to tell you about what's useful in that for writers. So do please have a look out for that coming next week as I record this. And actually, surely, the handiest way to spot an episode is to subscribe, don't you think? Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.